Welcome to Coffee and SEO, where we sit down for a coffee hour together and simplify SEO, making it super approachable for your business. I'm Taylor, your host and the founder of Aligned SEO. And at Aligned SEO, we specialize in helping photographers, creatives, and service providers get visible online and reach their dream clients through holistic SEO strategies. Whether you're looking to increase your Google rankings, attract more dream clients, or just make sense of SEO, I will be your SEO guide and bestie. So let's simplify SEO, align it with your goals, and get your website working just as hard as you do so you can get back to doing what you love. I'm here today with Martine from Streamlined by Martine, and we are chatting all about client experience and systems. We had a really fun conversation even before this podcast that I kind of wish we saved for the podcast, but I'm sure it'll be amazing on here too. Thank you, Martine, so much for being with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. I know that we are going to have a blast in this conversation just by the little preview that we did right before. So I'm so happy to be here and can't wait to dive in.
Me too, me too. Well, I would love to just start by hearing a little bit more about you and your experience or your journey that kind of led you to helping people with client experience and systems.
Absolutely. So I started my business 4 years ago. Previously, I was like a lot of people working in the corporate world. And I decided that I wanted to change. I just had my first child. And I decided to have a consultation business. So I was helping
Mm.
people with doing marketing, doing admin. So a little bit like of a VA, but a lot tailored to systems, automations, and
Mhm.
really like streamlining their business if you want. And then one of the clients just came to me and told me, I need to automate the back end of my business. I need a CRM. We're growing, we're getting bigger. So I
Mhm.
started to go on internet, started looking at all the systems. They had a certain budget. They couldn't like invest in HubSpot or those big, big,
Mm.
big platforms that they needed. And that's where I discovered Dubsado. And then I started playing around with it, implemented it in their business, and found it
Mhm.
so intriguing that I decided to implement it in my own business because I was like, if I need to serve clients, I want something that can be streamlined, that could be automated.
Mhm.
And I just fell in love with the tool. I spent hours going learning the ins and outs and stuff like that, trying to design my forms, trying to
Mhm.
play with workflows, all of those things, and decided to switch my whole business around to implementing Dubsado.
Mhm.
And then I had two more children and continued to develop the business. And that's where I realized in the journey of being a mom, where time is so important, that
Mhm.
I was serving clients during their nap time. So I really needed that concept of my business needs to be streamlined. I need to automate as much as possible because during nap time, I have to be able to serve the client. I
Mhm.
can't be sending invoices, like going back and forth to book a meeting or stuff like that. My time was so limited that that's where I saw the biggest value in having a system that
Mhm.
does all the back end and all the admin for you.
Yeah, that is amazing. And I think, yeah, a lot of us in business have that journey too, where it's like we're just trying to make it. We're sending out the proposals, we're replying to emails, we're maybe even all over the place on different softwares like I am now. And then we come to a point where we realize, oh my gosh, like I was telling you earlier, I'm feeling chaotic because I'm literally everywhere. And
Yeah.
so it definitely is so nice to have that streamlined process. And I think like client experience too, it's like so much better and it feels smoother. It feels like you're serving them more when everything is so streamlined.
Exactly. And I think it's also finding, as you were saying, the right platform that
Mm,
serves your needs because we all do it as business owners. Like we're trying different platforms. We try HoneyBooks, Dubsado for client experience, but we also like, we're going to try out Zoom. We're going to try out Google Meet. We're going to
mm,
try out all these platforms. And then we build up an invoice of like all of these subscriptions that we have. And
Yes.
at one point in our business, we have to be like, okay, which ones am I really using and which ones do I really need in my business? And are
Hmm.
there different tools that I could be using that could replace XYZ? For
Hmm.
example, you're using Calendly while Dubsado also has an appointment scheduler inside. So that's where I'm saying trying to connect the dots on how many subscriptions are we paying? How much money is going out of our business instead
Yeah.
of staying inside is a great thing to, in the beginning of the year, try to assess and try and, as we're trying to streamline our business, as we were
Yeah.
saying, just pinpointing where we need to cut.
Yes, I think that's such great advice because, yeah, I think when we're everywhere, like, not only are we spending more money, but I think also the investment of time too. Because I know for me, like, I've got some things on Notion and then I've got some things on HoneyBook and my email and Google Sheets, and like, it takes a lot of time to like go back and forth. And so, yeah, I got to a point where I'm like, okay, I really, really need to like figure out a way to streamline everything and then also like automate as much as I can because everything just takes so long. So I love that this is what you specialize in with like helping people simplify. I think that's the word that comes to mind is like really
Yeah.
simplify everything.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's also, as you were saying that, it brought a thought to me on the fact that as you're like looking and going through those different systems, it's also you're losing time in the fact of where am I in the project? Like,
Mm,
okay, I'm for client A, I'm on onboarding. For client B, it's just the inquiry. So you might also be dropping the ball because you have different systems and
yeah.
different ways of tracking where you are in a project. So, yeah, simplifying and streamlining is a big thing just to get stuff out of your brain and pretty much
Yeah.
into a CRM or into a tool that's going to help you track that and also notify you and tell you where you are with your different clients. And it's
Mm,
going to help you also know I can book another client for January, or I'm fully booked and my next available spot is in March because of how
mhm.
long your projects are and etc. So simplifying, streamlining is should be
Yeah.
a key word pretty much in 2025 of
Oh,
how to
yes.
help your business get better and for you to have more time to either serve clients, but also we're all talking about like rest and trying to get more me time. That's a great way
Mhm.
also by just simplifying your processes and streamlining stuff and automation, as you were saying.
That's so true. I think like having more of that time back. It's almost like when you have a really good system, it's like you have an employee that
Yeah.
can do a lot of those like back end things for you so that you can have more time back. I love that. On the client experience side, I'm curious, like from your perspective, as an expert in this, why is that client experience so important?
Great question. I would say that it's super important for you as the business owner because it helps you navigate and be successful in your business.
Hmm.
But for the client facing portion, because that's usually what people see in the client vision and client experience, it's really that concept of looking professional. It's those the first contact that you're having with the person. I'll give the example that I always give on discovery calls. When you fill out or when somebody goes on your website and they fill out an inquiry form and they click submit and then nothing happens. Half of the time when this happens to me, I'm like, did they get my inquiry? Do I need to follow up? When are they going to follow up with me? That's the start of your client experience,
Hmm.
but that showcases how important and how it makes you look as the business owner, even if it's a canned email, even if it's a pre-written email, and you know that it's going to be an automated
Hmm.
email that goes out to the client, they feel that they're going to be nurtured throughout the process because you have a system in place. That's what they see. That's what the person
Hmm.
behind their screen is going to say. They have, like, they're taking care of their stuff. Like, they know what they're doing because when an inquiry comes in, I'm taking care of. It's not just, oh, yeah, they got an email and Maybe one day they're going to answer. So that's the beginning of like the client experience and showcasing how important it is. And I can talk about it for hours on the
Yeah.
concept of like how important it is on proposals and following up on proposals. And when you onboard somebody, that it's simple, that they don't get like 25 emails because they need to schedule a call, because they need to fill out a questionnaire.
Yeah.
All of those things make you look professional, make your services look also more sophisticated, more
Mhm.
high level. Like they saw your website, they know that, or they follow you on Instagram, or they've heard about you. They see that the product or the service that you're giving is high quality, but the
Mhm.
client experience that you're offering is like that ribbon on top of everything, showcasing that you are the person that they should book with, and they don't get like that buyer's remorse after they
Yeah.
complete the proposal, that they really feel that there's a whole process and
Mhm.
Taylor's going to take care of me. Taylor knows what she's doing. And even if she's serving other clients, I'm getting emails that are telling that
Mhm.
she's following up on my project, that she's working on SEO, that she's doing XYZ. They see that they're not forgotten. They're not a number. They're a person, pretty much. So, long answer for a
Mhm.
how important this all is.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, I'm glad that you explained all those different, like, because it's not just the overall, like, client experience. It's like even these little things, like sending a follow-up email after somebody inquires or having that on automation can be the difference between, like, even be the difference between booking or not booking, it
Yeah.
seems like. I mean, it can really help. And it's about like what it communicates to the client, which it seems like can kind of make or break their like perspective on you as a professional. So it is, yeah, I think so important before and like once they do become a client too.
Yeah, absolutely. Like the before is super important, but also the after. And the after is
Mm,
pretty much showcasing how you run your business, but it also builds and develop the concept are they going to be a repeat client? And are they going to fill out your testimonial? Are they going to
mm,
refer you to somebody else? So
mhm.
that's why it's not just the beginning or just the end or just the time that you're spending with your client as you're serving them that's important.
Mhm.
It's the whole process from the inquiry to that last email to get a testimonial to
Yeah.
upsell another service. All of those little details are super, super important.
Yeah, yeah, I love like the idea of having one like very holistic, seamless like process from like start to end. Like
Yeah.
that feels so peaceful for some reason, even just thinking about that.
Yeah.
So what are some of the um areas that you help your clients with? Like, do you sit down with them and like go from like start to finish? Like, let's outline everything out and figure out how we can streamline it. Like, what's the process to doing that?
So, how I work with strategy in mind. So, for
Okay.
me, it's not just we're implementing your client experience, we're automating it. I'm taking like whatever forms you have, putting it in the systems, building a few workflows, and calling it a day. For me, it's all about strategy. So, we sit down together during a first call where
Hmm.
we're going over every single step of your process. So, most of the time, that's all in your brain. That's all like I just do these on repeat. I send an email from Google, I write it from scratch and etc. So we really sit down, we write everything down, and then we look at where there could be bottlenecks. Where do you
Mm,
have issues with people not responding to proposals, leads falling through the cracks? Where do throughout your process of serving your client during the project, where do people ask the same questions? And by pinpointing all those little things, then we could add in automation, write emails
mhm,
that are going to address all of these questions or these
mhm.
objections at the beginning to make sure that you're not rewriting the same emails all the time, that we're
Yeah.
really being a step in advance from your clients. The goal here is really always to be advising the client inside of an email when we're sending them something, but always talking about the next step. So you're
Mm,
sending a proposal, here's what's going to happen after. You're
Mhm.
filling out a questionnaire. Here's what's happening after. So we're really building the whole process together. And then after that, I sit down, I design a full flow chart for each one of your services, really detailing pretty much how your process is going to translate into Dubsado. Because Dubsado
Mhm.
has its own language, if you want,
Mhm.
in the workflow process, like every CRM or every system. And it's really making what you want as a client experience, but also as your processes, make them work inside of Dubsado as seamlessly as possible and to automate as possible if that's what you wish, because you can also
Mhm.
automate a lot of things, but keep control. So not all emails have to go out right away or
Yeah.
after an hour or etc. You can keep the control in the concept of editing the emails before they go
Mhm.
out. I work with copywriters. Copywriters like to have the ability to customize, personalize all the emails for each one of their clients. That's something you can do even if you're automating a system. So
Mhm.
for me, it's really the whole strategy behind that. And of
Yeah.
course, I implement your whole Dubsado. I design all your forms. I write all your canned emails. I do everything. But the main thing is always the strategy at the beginning. That is the important part. And that's usually when somebody is DIYing their system, DIYing their
Mhm.
Dubsado. That's the portion they skip just because
Mhm.
they don't necessarily understand or know or have the ability to audit their own process. So
Mhm.
that's the biggest thing I think of being able to sit down to write each step of your process and really understand. That's where a Dubsado specialist, a system
Mhm.
specialist is there pretty much to help you pinpoint those bottlenecks, pinpoint
Yeah.
where how much can we actually automate and how much are
Mhm.
you really doing manually right now? And that can save you so much time in the end.
Yeah, yeah. And I really resonated with what you said at the beginning of like we have all our stuff like up here in our head, but I mean, a lot of us don't take that time to like sit down and really outline like okay, like from start to finish, what does my system look like if I even have a system? And I feel like working with an expert would make that so much easier because also, I mean, even if we did do that, like looking at everything could be a little daunting
Overwhelming.
and yes, overwhelming to say the least. Because we might be, yeah, everywhere. And so really sitting down with someone who knows how to do this systemically, like that seems like such a helpful yeah, such a helpful thing. Yeah, the client experience, I mean, it really is so important, but now I think we're talking about like on our end as the business owners too, there's like so many areas where we could optimize, automate, save a whole lot of time. I know Dubsado, well, Honeybook and Dubsado you mentioned, it's a really big one for automating and streamlining these processes. So I'm curious, since you're a Dubsado specialist, like what makes Dubsado so helpful and unique?
Yes. Dubsado is unique. And one of the main reasons why I chose it at the
Mm,
beginning is how much you can automate and
mm,
also how branded everything can be. So those are like
yeah,
really the two factors of I work with a lot of web designers, brand designers, interior designers for whom showcasing their brand is so important. Photographers
yeah.
also. So that's one of the great portions of instead of designing your proposals inside of Canva
Mhm,
or where people can't select a package and everything is static, inside of Dubsado, having that opportunity to create proposals where they can choose their package. They can add any add-ons that you offer that
mhm,
they could fill out all their information, go straight to signing a contract, straight to completing an invoice. That
mhm,
sort of automation and also that sort of branding is one of the main reasons that made me choose at the
mhm,
beginning this platform. And then for automation, how much you can automate. So that was one of the main things, as I was saying at the beginning, being a mom, not having any time. You can automate pretty much like usually what I do is around 85% 90% of your business of how everything is structured from your inquiry, where you automate everything except hopping on a discovery call. You
Mm-hmm.
automate sending your proposal. So, yes, you can customize your proposal as you need to because every client is specific. So, you customize the proposal, but after that, you're sending it out to the client. You can send all the reminders automatically inside
Mm-hmm.
of the workflows. You can send your invoice, payment reminders, all of those are automated. And then
Mm-hmm.
onboarding, streamline. That's where I see the biggest portion of what we can automate is in onboarding, where usually people send an onboarding questionnaire. There's an email that goes out for that. And then it's like, oh, we have to book a call, a kickoff call. So we're sending another email. After that, we're sending them to our Notion board or Asana board. Then we're sending them to our portal. Then, so
Mm-hmm.
you end up sending like 5 or 6 different emails. For you, it's a lot of work, but put yourself in your client's shoes that's receiving 5 or 6 emails. And it's like, where do I start? What do I have to
Yeah.
do? Do I have to answer all the emails? And they just get overwhelmed.
Yeah.
So being able to automate that, create, as I was saying, a strategic path to your client
Mm-hmm.
experience. So you're not sending those 5 emails. And then being able to put that all in one, automate once they book their call. XYZ happens automatically.
Mm.
Once they fill out their questionnaire, they get a reminder, or they fill out their questionnaire, they get an
Yeah.
email for the next step, and all of those are paced out in a certain amount of time that we decide together. All
Mm-hmm.
of that is saving you time, but it's also not overwhelming for the client. So that's one of the beauties of Dubsado that I was like, wow, this is going to take so much pressure off
Yeah.
me into, did I send the questionnaire? Did they answer the questionnaire? Did we book the call? All of those questions that
Yeah.
were in my mind that I'm like, now I don't have to. Or if I have to do something, Dubsado sending me a reminder saying,
Yeah.
Matson, you have to do XYZ. And that on the client end is an A1 because everything is paced. They're not getting 5 emails at the same
Oh,
time.
yeah.
So yeah, that's the Dubsado beauty that every time I'm like, this is a lifesaver for me
Yeah.
as a business owner. And this is such an amazing process for the client because it's smooth, it's easy,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not overwhelming. Usually people invest how much? 2K, 3K, 4K for a service provider. They don't want to be
Mm-hmm.
overwhelmed with emails and stuff like that. They just
Yeah.
want a smooth process. They want to be working with you in like a partnership and everything. So that brings out the positive side, I think.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. That sounds like it would just be way less stressful. I think, yeah, when a client hires a service provider, they're looking for like an easier way to do something or to hand things off. And so, yeah, I
Yeah.
always feel bad sending those 5 onboarding emails because, yeah, it would get super overwhelming. So I love that idea of like really having a really rock solid process, but also just a very peaceful, like one step at a time type of process. I think, yeah, on both ends would be make a huge difference. I really love that. I know right now, I mean, I work with a lot of photographers and creatives. I know you probably do too, a lot of service providers, copywriters, web designers, service providers, but right now, I think a lot of people are trying to explore their options for
Yep.
CRMs. And so I'm curious, like, I know there's a lot of them out there, but the big ones that at least come to my mind are Honeybook and Dubsado.
Yep.
So I'm curious, like, because you work with a lot of people who are switching or exploring Dubsado, what are some of the, if any, what are some of the big differences that makes Dubsado stand out among the crowd, or even the differences between Honeybook and Dubsado?
So the main difference, as I was saying, branding in how you can showcase and how you can design your forms, that is one of the biggest difference because
Mm,
you can use code inside of your proposal, but you can also
okay.
use code-free proposals where they're gorgeous. They're showcasing your pictures for photographers. They're showcasing your work for brand and web designers. And I know how important it is for those types of industries to showcase their work because that's usually
Mhm.
how they're selling themselves or like closing the client when they're sending the proposal. So having that ability to brand everything. Then the other difference is the workflow capability of how much you can automate with
Mm,
Dubsado. So for Dubsado, like we were talking a lot about like the onboarding process, but we can automate also a lot on the project like
mm,
portion of it. So for example, if you're a brand and web designer, copywriters, where you're sending a first draft to the client, they need to make revisions and things like that. Those are portions that you can also automate inside of Dubsado that people don't necessarily know or that
mm,
they haven't experienced it because not a lot of people use it that way. They like use
mhm,
it for onboarding or for offboarding. But when you're sending those sort of drafts to the client, you can send a questionnaire where you're asking and you're giving them a link to a Google Drive. You're giving them a
mm,
link to markup because that's how you edit your web design or etc. and that you gather feedback. But you can still use Dubsado for the questionnaire portion
mhm,
where we're sending reminders if they haven't completed in XYZ number of days. We're giving them next steps when they complete the questionnaire.
mhm.
So we're able to add in those automations inside of Dubsado, inside of the process, saving you a lot of time. And how many times does this happen to any type of service provider? They haven't completed their questionnaire. I need to follow up. I need to follow up again. Like they don't know when they need to give me the type of feedback, what
Mhm.
type of feedback they need to provide. And you're looking for your canned email before you send it and etc. So those are all
Mhm.
automations that are also possible in Dubsado where the automation capabilities are a lot
Yeah.
bigger. And then that concept really of the scheduler that can be integrated. I know
Mhm.
HoneyBooks now started to have the appointment scheduler. In my time, it wasn't an option,
Mm,
but that was one of the other reasons why I put that inside of Dubsado and decided to go with
mhm.
them. It's really that capability of when a client books a meeting, steps can happen from there.
Yeah.
So that's where like workflows is the big difference, I think, between HoneyBooks and
Yeah.
Dubsado. And now, of course, the increase in pricing is one of the
Mhm.
main reasons why people are looking to switch and looking to see what Dubsado has to offer
Yeah.
because usually, like when the pricing is the same, you're like, well, I know the platform, I'm comfortable with the
Right.
platform. Why should I change? Now that there's a different, it's like, what does the other offer? And
Mhm.
Dubsado was created for photographers at the beginning, and then all of the other types of service providers started using it. And as I was saying, those two things of branding and
Yeah.
workflows are really the main difference. If we take
Yeah.
pricing aside and everything, that's really why people come to Dubsado.
Yeah, those are huge for a business. But just hearing the way that you're talking about all the different automations that can be set up and the different triggers and things like that. I mean, I'm currently on HoneyBook, but of course, as I mentioned to you before this call, like I'm trying to streamline everything and like figure out what I need and subscriptions and I'm just everywhere, so I need to streamline everything. But yeah, I'm thinking to like what I can do in HoneyBook and I mean, I'm not an expert in HoneyBook, but I like the idea of having more options for automating different things, like especially those reminder emails, because it does not feel good to like continually like have to think about like, oh, now I have to check in, or have I heard back from them? Oh, now I have to check in again. And it would just be so nice to like automate all of that. And then when they do complete a task, being able to automate that process of like, okay, here's the next step, seems like it would just, yeah, enhance the experience overall. I love that. I love that. So for somebody, I guess like me, I'm a really good example here. For somebody who's thinking like, okay, I feel called out in a good way, an important way, and I need to like start with automating and like elevating my client experience and just making it so much better for all parties involved. Where would you recommend starting?
I would start with, first of all, writing down your client experience. That would be the first thing. And even before talking to a Dubsado specialist, to a systems
Mm-hmm.
specialist, just to better understand what services like, and this usually comes with a revision of the services that you are offering. So, do you want to keep all your services? Do you want to knock some out because you're like those no, those ones are not working, or I don't want to do these anymore. So, it's helping you, first of all, clear out your brain, but after that, write down all the information of here's my process. And you don't have to go in extreme details of like, this is what I'm sending, but just understanding what your process looks like. Because when you hop on a discovery call, for example, with me after that, you're able to tell me, like, this is what my client experience looks like. These are the issues that I have right now. I don't have follow-ups. My to-do list, half of my to-do list is follow up with client A, follow up with client B,
Mm-hmm.
track this, track this. That's where we can talk about how much we can automate inside of your business, how much you want automated inside of your business, because not everybody, as I was saying, wants the same level of automation inside of your business. And also, it helps the Dubsado specialist tell you pretty much how much personalization also you
Mm-hmm.
can have into your client experience. For
Mm-hmm.
example, I have pretty much 85% of my business, if not more, automated inside of Dubsado and different other systems. And maybe 90% of my clients respond to each and every email I
Wow.
send out. Even if they know that I'm a Dubsado specialist, even if they know that the emails are pre-written, that they're sent by
Yeah.
workflows, because that's what I do. So that's how much you can personalize your client experience and also have it automated. So
Yeah.
writing it down and understanding what you want is really the first step to
Yeah.
doing that. And after that, it's more of the concept of, do you want to try and DIY it yourself, or if
Mm-hmm.
you want to outsource it, because strategy and systems is not necessarily like you understand them, but understanding them and having them as your area of genius
Mm-hmm.
is two different things. So that's why the strategy behind the client experience is so important. And when you DIY it, that's usually where the lack comes from that.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not saying it's impossible. I started and DIY'd it at the beginning. I have a lot of clients that come and see me that
Mm-hmm.
DIY'd it. And then they come and we revamp if you want like that strategy. But really writing it down is key number one of
Yes.
getting started, getting what's in the
Yes.
brain on a piece of paper.
Yes, yes, exactly. I think, yeah, you're so point on. I think like getting it out of the brain and onto a piece of paper where you can visualize things seems like a good first step, whether you're going to DIY it or reach out to a specialist, which will get you maybe even a step ahead if you're going to reach out to a specialist. But
Yeah.
I think about the amount of time investment too with like DIYing the whole system. I think, there's a part of me that would be like, oh, I don't even want to deal with it. Like, I've tried, it's just too much, and then I won't end up doing it. So that's where I think, yeah, somebody like you comes in. Even if we could do it ourselves, sometimes it is worth it to outsource it so you don't have to worry about it so much or learn a new
Yeah.
system or how to automate everything because that's your zone of genius there. So that
Yeah.
kind of brings us to I'm curious to talk a little bit about your offer, which is a Dubsado VIP week. What does it look like for somebody who might be interested in working with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So my Dubsado VIP week, how it works and the structure of it is I build during a week, I build out your whole Dubsado. There's prep work that happens before, and there's also support that happens after. So that concept of VIP week is pretty much understanding the concept of where I need you to review a few things to communicate with me is where I need you available. So instead of being
Mm-hmm.
available for 4 to 6 weeks into
Yeah.
answering questions and dragging on a process, that's what the VIP week structure and concept is. But yes, I can automate up to three service, sometimes even more during a VIP week. The
Okay.
process before and the pre-work is pretty much as I was talking. There's the first call, which is the strategy call, where that's a 1 hour call. All prep work usually happens in the month before. So there's a call that's done there, and then there's a second call, which is a process mapping call. So we take everything that we did in the strategy. I design flowcharts, I design everything so it's easier to understand. And then we look at it pretty much together, making sure that
Mm-hmm.
everything is in its place and that we didn't miss anything as we were designing and doing everything for your setup.
Mm-hmm.
After that, I write all your canned emails. I design a draft of your proposal. I design a draft of one of your questionnaires that you get to review, provide feedback. There's no limits of how many times you want me to edit your
Mm-hmm.
proposal. The goal is really to be able, and most of the time, mimic your website. So your proposal
Yeah,
becomes an extension of your website.
I love
So
that.
this is really like a collaborative process that we're doing together, but I'm doing like all the heavy lifting and all the work that's being
Mm-hmm.
done, and you're pretty much just reviewing and approving. And then during that VIP week, as I was saying, I'm implementing, building all the workflows, creating all the automation, setting up the whole system. And then we do an offboarding call on the Friday where I show you your workflows, how everything works. But I don't just show you how it works. I also record training videos for each one of
Mm-hmm.
the workflows that I build. And I show you how you, as the business owners, are going to use your Dubsado. But I'm also showing you how the client is going to, like, what email are they receiving? What steps are they doing? And that way you really see your entire client experience. So if you want to make edits or you want to change stuff up, you're really seeing the whole journey, not
Mm-hmm.
just as the business owner, but also as the client. So you can see how much we've elevated your client experience through this process. And then you get 30 days of support where you can ask all your questions, minor tweaks, and etc. I even offer an optional call if you want, where we can do anything you want on that call, answer questions, do a live client. A lot of people like me to do the whole process for them if they are more visual in understanding how a client is going to navigate through the
Mm-hmm.
whole thing. So there's that additional support. For me, the goal is really that when you start using your Dubsado, you really understand your workflows, you're putting
Mm-hmm.
clients through it, and the 30 days of support is really there to help you navigate using the process, not testing out the process, really using it with clients and being comfortable in using it. Because
Mm-hmm.
using it and setting it up is two things. I don't want you to focus on trying to setting it up. I really want you to focus and learn how to
Mm-hmm.
use something that's tailored for you, for how you run your business. That's why it's not training videos that are recorded
Mm-hmm.
for everybody. It's really training videos on your actual process.
Wow, wow, that is amazing. It's impressive how much you can get done in, just a VIP week and how easy you make it for your clients. I think, yeah, for a lot of people, they're probably coming to you because they are like either overwhelmed, they've been on Dubsado for a while and they're like, I don't want to deal with this anymore. I don't know how to do it. Or people that are maybe switching over, and I know it can be really intimidating thinking about starting fresh on a new platform. So I love that you really take the time to set everything up so they don't have to, and then really like show them this is how it looks on the client end, but also like focus on trying to use it from your end too without having to
Yeah.
worry about all the setup and the systems like that. Yeah, that would make a huge difference. I love that. And then I know you also have a kind of like a taster to this, like a freebie that shows people how to set up that inquiry process. Can you say just a little bit more about that free resource that you have?
Yeah, so I created that freebie to pretty much help people navigate that first portion. Because as I was saying in the beginning of this podcast, how important it is for when somebody fills out your inquiry form at that they just don't get like that blank page.
Yeah.
So that freebie is really um, tutorial videos. I'm a big fan of like recording videos. I think that that's how you learn a lot, especially with systems and just seeing how somebody is doing it. So that
Hmm.
inquiry process. So either it's they're filling out an inquiry form on your website, or if they're booking a discovery call directly from your website, in my tutorial, well, in this freebie, you get both tutorials. So you can choose which one you want. You can even
Yeah.
test out which one you want. I used to have book a discovery call on my website. And
Hmm.
then after a few years of having that and managing that, I decided that I wanted the inquiry form. So you can
Mm.
test it out on your
Yeah.
website. Because you have both. You have a tutorial video that's going to teach you how to put it on your website and also how to set up the back end for everything, how to create the workflow. And you even have the canned emails to plug in directly
Wow.
inside of your Dubsado. So it is a value-packed freebie with
Yeah.
a lot of information. If you're starting up with Dubsado, it's a great place to start.
I love that. That is so value packed. I will include a link to that freebie in the description, along with a link to Martine's Dubsado VIP week landing page so that any listeners can go and check that out. I will also add your social media. I think it's at Streamlined by Martine. Am I right?
Exactly. Yep.
Perfect. Okay, awesome. Yeah, I will link everything below. So, listeners, if you're interested in learning more, you can go ahead and connect with Martine. Martine, thank you so much for being on the podcast. That was so valuable. I learned a lot, and I know it's going to be so valuable for my audience. So, I really, really appreciate your time.
Thank you so much for having me. This was a pleasure. It was a great discussion. And yeah, I'm happy to answer any questions if your listeners have any. Easiest way to reach me is through the DMs. So thank you so much for having me.
Perfect. And yeah, of course, this was so fun. And thank you all for listening to this episode. I will see you in the next episode.